Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. I can deliver the lecture in Hebrew, but the slides are in English. Okay. During lunch, a few people asked me about what is the current policy regarding teaching climate change in Israel, and I'm sorry that Dr. Gilmore Keshet from the Ministry of Education wasn't there to complete my answers. But I guess that the two lectures will give you a good idea about the status of climate change education in Israel. And I'm going to talk more about the systemic aspects of climate change education. So first of all, there are many challenges related to climate change education. First and foremost is the need to achieve consensus about the content to be taught under the title of climate change education. Then the scientific content are very complex, and they're multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary and involve earth sciences, climate science, economics, social studies, and etc. So the content are complex within each one of these disciplines, but also among all disciplines. And then comes the question, where does it fit in the curriculum, if it's so interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary? So it's very easy to put photosynthesis in the biology curriculum, or bonding in chemistry, or forces in physics. But with this list of complex content, it is very difficult to decide where to teach and where does it fit in the curriculum. And then comes the administrative question. So, who is responsible for climate change education in the Ministry of Education? So, is it part of the sciences? And then it's under the responsibility of Dr. Gilmore Keshet. Or, as one of the ideas was, it is humanities. So maybe some sort of interdisciplinary humanities office at the Ministry of Education should be responsible. We begin with the question where. So where climate change education can be found. So of course in the formal education system, in schools. So this is the first place to teach climate change education. But then we want out of school environments to deal with climate change education as well, such as museums, zoos, nature parks, visitor centers, the electricity company of Israel, and so on and so forth. So out of school settings as well, and also in the arena of informal education, which is related to all the things that are done out of any formal system, such as social media, traditional media, after-school clubs and programs. We want all of them to deal with climate change. Then comes the question, who does it? And of course, the formal education system, the answer is simple. These are teachers who have to know about climate change and be able to teach climate change. And we want informal educators, such that work in museums and zoos and visitor centers, to be able to teach about climate change when people visit these environments. And of course, journalists, all these people who are responsible for delivering messages, ideas, content in the informal arena. So all these people have to know and be able to deal with climate change education. And of course, finally, activists, those people who are doing things in their communities, who are doing things in cross-country initiatives, people who really push forward the idea of getting ready to climate change by mitigation, by adaptation. But all these activists are people who deal with climate change education in their daily practice. The third question is what? What do we teach about climate change? So we, of course, care about knowledge. And the essence of any teaching is teaching knowledge. This is what we teach. But we also want to develop students' attitudes. Because without attitudes, the knowledge stays only in the surface area and it's not being used practically in everyday life. So we want to develop people's attitudes. We want to develop people who care about climate change. We see it in different countries in the world. We see youth and adults who protest, who are doing things, who push initiatives in their communities because they care about climate change. And finally, we want to develop agency. Agency is the will and the ability and the self-efficacy that we can do it. We can change the situation that we face today. We can create a better world for the young people that I see here behind, or even for their children in the future. And agency is the most important thing that we can teach our students, to be able to make a change. And finally, we want to teach how to do it, how to act. Sometimes we try to refrain from activism. Say, well, activism can go to different directions. We see activism in the streets of Israel now every single day. And there are people who approve it and people who disapprove it. But with climate change education, we cannot stay in our homes behind our walls and expect that something will happen. So action is a thing that we have to prepare our future students and current students for. And because I'm older, I won't say I'm old, but I'm older, and I was one of the first people who introduced environmental education and education for sustainability to the Israeli education system. I wonder in what ways climate change education is different or similar to what happened with environmental education more than 30 years ago when it just emerged with the Israeli education system. So to do that, I first want you to see the Israeli core curriculum. So what is the core curriculum? It's something that the Jewish Orthodox, of course, reject. All the people here teach their kids the core curriculum. So we teach math, we teach science, we teach history, we teach language arts, let it be Hebrew or Arabic, and we teach citizenship education. So all these exams which are mandatory in the Israeli curriculum can be considered as the core curriculum. But where is environmental education or education for sustainability? It began totally as an extracurricular field. It was not part of the school curriculum. And it was offered mainly by NGOs, such as the Society for the Protection of Nature, החברה להגנת הטבע in Hebrew, or the Green Network, הרשת הירוקה, initiatives of the Ministry of Environmental Protection. There was no formal curriculum in the Ministry of Education, so there was no ועדת מקצוע, a professional committee that supported environmental education. And it was often offered by informal educators who were employed by the Society for Protection of Nature or the Green Network. So this is an extra curriculum. It's not part of the core curriculum. But later on, especially due to the very good activity of the Ministry of Environmental Protection, it moved closer to the core curriculum. So the Ministry of Education, for example, decided that every student in Israel has to study 30 hours per year environmental education or education for sustainability. So this is already a decision of the Ministry of Education. Yet, there was no professional committee like we have in math or science or history or language arts. So the content remained to be eclectic contents with no backbone, and it was still offered by many informal institutions, such as the Society for the Protection of Nature or the Green Network and so on. So in a way, it moved closer to the core curriculum, but it is not a core curriculum, okay? So, where does climate change education fit? So if we look at climate change education as a new development from environmental education to environmental education for sustainability, and now it's one of the major, or maybe the major worldwide crisis. So where does it fit in the curriculum? Should it be like environmental education? Should it be part of the core curriculum? In contrast to what happened in the past, an academic committee that began with an initiative, agency of one scientist from the Weizmann Institute, Tali, who recruited colleagues and friends from various disciplines, who began talking about the need of climate change education. And suddenly the Ministry of Education appeared with Gilmore as a leading figure, as the institution that actually coordinated all this effort that began as bottom-up effort, but was strongly adopted by the Ministry of Education. So it became formal climate change education advisory committee, like we have for math, like we have for science, like we have for English, and so on. And this committee offered and worked on the first new curriculum that was jointly designed to include scientific, social sciences, economic, and all other aspects of climate change. One of the achievements of this initiative that was led by the Ministry of Education was a joint session at the COP27 conference that was in Sharm el-Sheikh in November, when the Ministry of Education coordinated, but the people who joined this session were people from the academia, regional research centers across the country, NGOs, and the National Teachers Center for Environmental Education. And teachers have many challenges because of the complex content, because it is unfamiliar. It is unfamiliar not only to geography teachers, even to science teachers. It was not part of the curriculum in the faculty of chemistry, or faculty of physics, or faculty of education, or biology, where our teachers graduated. And teachers of geography cannot even teach the complex scientific content. So a whole effort was needed in order to cope with this need and gaps between what we want to do and what we can do. And One of the answers was given to Beyadenu in our hands, which is the National Teacher Center for Environmental Education and Sustainability. It is one of many national science teacher centers that are associated with the different universities in Israel. And Beyadenu, in our hands, is the center, one of the centers that are associated with the Faculty of Education in Science and Technology of the Technion, from which I come, and I am the PI of this center. So what do we do? You see the part of the website of the center, but we develop teaching and learning materials in Hebrew and in Arabic that are offered to every single teacher in the country who wants to use these learning materials in their classrooms. We also make the science of climate change more accessible. We take scientific papers that were written in Hebrew, for example, in Ecologia Sviva, Ecology and Environment, the scientific magazine of the Israeli Society for Environmental Ecology and Environmental Sciences, and we adapt these articles for teachers to use with their schools, with their students in their schools. And we also adapt videos that were developed in the Hebrew University for the level of undergraduate students, and we provide a whole support envelope to allow teachers use these short videos in high school and middle school classroom, for example. We also publish a magazine which is, it is designed to offer materials that teacher can handle with, so it's more everyday language. We try to avoid scientific jargon, and you can see some of the magazines that we published in the last 2 years. So one is about the climate crisis, one is about technological innovation to cope with the climate crisis, and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And we hold conferences and seminars and webinars that are offered to any middle and high school teacher in Israel. So let's go back to the question where climate change education fit. And you can see in this slide that what I'm trying to argue, that it moved from the margins in which environmental education and education for sustainability were, it moved from the margin into the center. And now it became part of the formal core curriculum of Israel. And of course it fits almost everywhere as part of the core curriculum. And unlike the past, the systemic effort in which academia, the Ministry of Education, researchers, practitioners, teachers all took part, changed the picture of where climate change education is. Thank you.
Tali. Thank you, Tali. Now, if there are any questions, تفضل Professor حجرات.
And well, in the academia we can say whatever we want, right? We have academic freedom in Israel. So I'm very concerned about where climate change education is going to be taken. I'm very concerned about where teaching about evolution might be taken. I strongly hope that because we have such a big professional staff at the Ministry of Education that is kept constant with people with high expertise, eventually they're being heard, and eventually their advice is being listened to. I prefer to stay optimistic, otherwise I have to move to Jordan or to Berlin or to other places where people came here from. So I really count that on Gilmore that she will be able to be a superwoman and superpower there at the Ministry of Education. It is integrated. As I said, the National Teacher Center name is the National Teacher Center for Environmental Education and Sustainability. So I'm happy to say that the Ministry of, just half a minute about history. It began as a National Teacher Center for Environmental Sciences. And for years it was easy for the Ministry of Education to say, well, it is sciences, so it is environmental sciences. We don't deal with economics, we don't deal with social impacts, we don't deal with all these issues. I think that the fact that eventually the Ministry of Education did adopt the title of Environmental Education and Sustainability proves that it integrated all. Maybe my figures were not that accurate, but this is in fact what happens.
Another more questions?
Just one thing that a wise man has been said. If you want a topic to be in the core curriculum, have in the exam, good exam questions. That will draw an impact, and this topic will be. Is there any question in Bagrut exams about crisis, climate crisis?
Well, last year, the Bagrut in Lashon, in language art, the unseen text was all about climate change. And this is in grammar, in language arts. I think that this year is the first year that it became a mandatory topic. And I think that the question will be for Gilmore if there is an effort to include questions in the Bagrut, in the large comparative tests that we have. The answer that, of course, I think so. This is what eventually changed the status of evolution when it was part of the Bagrut exams. It became part of what teachers have to teach in their classrooms.
Thank you, Tali. Just a minute, please. It's an honor to invite you to speak here at the university. It's been a lot of things. Thank you very much.